Good evening, everybody. It is time for another one of our great online town hall meetings. This is a chance where you get to not just sit and watch, you get to ask questions, you get to make comments. We get to see them, and we'll cover as many of those as we can get to tonight before we run out of time. And we don't have a specifically set endpoint, but we don't want this to get too late because John has to eventually get to bed so I can leave bright and early and make it to Lincoln tomorrow. As we go along here, we'll give a chance for everybody to get notified that we started and get logged in here. But we do just want to real quick just thank all of you for joining us on this journey, for all the help that you have given us as far as helping to spread the word. Just have those conversations about constitutional carry, how great it will be for our state if we can get this passed, or once we get this passed, because I don't plan on this to fail. So again, thank you, all of you, for helping us out, because we cannot do this without you. And the more people I talk to, the more I realize that not everyone understands how NFOA works. We don't have a building somewhere. We don't have a set location. We're a group of people. And Trish and myself and the rest of the board and all of our volunteers, we do this because we care. We do this because we are Nebraskans. And that means that it's not just the 7 people on the board and a handful of volunteers that can get anything done. It's because you guys all chip in as Nebraskans do. And we all pull together and we all get results. So thank you for being who you are, Nebraska, because we love you. All right. Real quick here, I think everybody's kind of getting the notifications. I'm seeing a few people jumping in here watching, a good mix between YouTube and Facebook. So we're going to get rolling. My name is John Anderson. I am Director of Media for NFOA, and with me, of course, is our lovely president, Trish Harrold. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good. Good. Waiting to figure out whether we're going to get snowmageddon or light dusting. Nebraska weather in the spring.
I'm hoping for light dusting, and I grew up knowing how to, I know how to drive in the snow, and I have 4-wheel drive. That doesn't mean everybody else does. So I'm hoping that Lincoln gets a light dusting. The streets are cleared. The highways are good in the morning because, like I said, I'm hoping to be on the road by 6 in order to get rolling. So, because I want to get down and get a decent parking space close to the Capitol, so I don't have to walk as far. Yeah, so tonight we're going to give out a lot of information, but this isn't going to be like a lecture. This is going to be a conversation, and you may see us be a little more candid maybe than what you're used to seeing us, just because we're still people. Just because we work with NFOA, we don't work for NFOA, but just because we work with NFOA doesn't make us any different than anybody else. We get frustrated with some things. We get frustrated when misinformation gets spread, things like that. We're going to get to that and a whole lot of other stuff tonight too. So if you see us or if you catch us having a moment of being human, just remember that we're no different than you. This isn't our job. This is our passion. We have other things that bring the money in so that we can do this. And we're always happy to have more volunteers. If you have a particular set of skills and it would help us with our mission, please reach out and let us know what those skills are, and we'll find the best way to put you to good use as far as helping out the cause. You can just drop an email to info@nebraskafirearms.org. And if you're watching this and you're not a member, especially if you're a Nebraskan, and especially if you're a Nebraskan who owns firearms and you're not a member, it's free to join. It'll always be free. We'll never charge dues. And we don't bombard you with letters or emails asking for your money or claiming that you're going to lose all your gun rights if you don't send us $20 more. We don't do that. So please go to nebraskafirearms.org and become a member just as soon as we're done here. Or if you could multitask, do it right now. All right, so we've got a lot of stuff that we want to cover. Real quick, let's just kind of recap. Trish, if you would kind of take us through how LB773 has evolved and just constitutional carry from its inception here at the beginning of this session until now. What's going on?
Sure. As many of you know, last year we had quite a few fantastic Second Amendment bills that we worked very, very hard to pass. We had tremendous momentum from the Second Amendment sanctuary county movement, where counties across Nebraska were passing resolutions to assert their county as a sanctuary for the Second Amendment, to ensure that federal and state, as well as local infringements would not be enforced by their sheriffs or supported financially through the county budget. And watching that unfold, over a year was just remarkable, because it was really the purest form of grassroots activism. Counties large and small, from population size to spatial size, gathered together, started educating their neighbors, their friends, their family, started attending meetings of their county board, county commissioners, discussing, why it was important that we established clearly in a definite way that the Second Amendment is not a second class right. It is the Second Amendment, right, of our U.S. Constitution. And within the Nebraska Constitution, it is in our first paragraph in our Statement of Rights, right, Article 1, Section 1. And it was powerful. And it was so powerful that it even got the attention, right, of elected officials. They're like, what's going on? The people in Nebraska are normally so quiet, so relaxed, so trusting, right, of their elected officials. What is generating this interest and this energy and this movement? And it was really evidence that not only in our state, but across the U.S., citizens are becoming awake to the fact that active citizenry is the only way to ensure this representative government, this grand experiment that is our nation, will work, right? And so taking that cue, there were so many wonderful bills presented. And we had constitutional carry at the county level. That was a bill put forth by Senator Brewer, and that got taken out of the Judiciary Committee, which is amazing that a Pro 2A bill can get, moved out of the committee. That
I think that was Government Committee.
The Government Committee. Yep, that's right. The Government Committee. So we got that pulled out of there, and we actually got it passed. But then, our Attorney General denoted that the state could not delegate that authority to the county. And so what ended up happening was what we refer to as our omnibus bill, which took transformed from constitutional carry at the county level to a CHP related bill, where you could get a 30-day grace period if your concealed carry permit had expired. There was going to be a 4-month formal notification of renewal through the mail, so that folks wouldn't get caught letting their permit expire. And it also cleared up a Nebraska Supreme Court ruling that really muddied the waters as far as what constitutes carrying a firearm in a concealed fashion in your vehicle. As most of us do, you throw your range bag in the back of your car, and if you have a trunk, you're great. And if you didn't have a trunk, as long as it wasn't near, on, or about your person, like well in the back of your Suburban or SUV, you were fine taking your firearm, in the range bag. But that ruling basically said, unless you had it locked in a trunk, everyone was breaking concealed carry laws, just transporting their firearm to the range or to go hunting. So those three bills grouped together and became the omnibus bill. We got that passed. But obviously that was not constitutional carry. And Senator Brewer had made it clear then, as he's made it clear in advance of this session of our unicameral, as well as what's going on today, that constitutional carry was going to be his number one priority. Yeah. And so he worked diligently to craft that language and put that bill together. We had a tremendous hearing at the Judiciary Committee with 97-1 for the bill. If you look at it from a percentage wise, whether it's emails, phone calls, mailers, and even, of course, the attendees who testified in support of constitutional carry. But Senator Brewer and, of course, NFOA knew that we were going to be facing, quite an uphill battle, a large mountain to climb. We knew that there were going to be several organizations, municipalities, unions, portions of law enforcement in our state that would work against us, would work against constitutional recognition of our right to bear arms without a permit or without a fee. And so the work began right after that omnibus bill was passed, even before, that session was ended. And so that work has continued, hours and hours and hours of work, working, basically meeting with individuals and organizations, educating them, having dialogue, exchanging ideas, sharing concerns, mitigating those concerns through different ideas with regards to what we could put into the bill. And now we have LB773, which has a neutral rating, if you will, from the Omaha Police Union. And it's really, really important to understand for those of us who work in the world of politics, not that we are of the world of politics, but we were forced to work in the world of politics.
Yeah.
It's not black and white as much as we know as citizens it should be, that it's just so simple, right? We shouldn't even having to be passed this bill to have our right to carry in a concealed fashion. But we got to work the system as the system exists now. And there's tons of people who are working to change the system, and we absolutely champion them. There are so many fantastic pro-freedom grassroots movements across our state that are changing the atmosphere, and the environment for politics. And it's great. And we're going to see the fruit of all that labor with this bill being passed. But we have to work within the constraints that we got right now. And so basically, without getting the Omaha Police Union on board, this bill would have no chance. Even if it was pulled successfully out of the Judiciary Committee, it would not pass.
Yeah.
And so there was a great amount of work to create some language that provided some tools for law enforcement to combat criminals and the criminal use of a firearm while conducting additional crimes, right?
Right. Yeah, there's just too many senators that are not willing to support a bill that the law enforcement organizations don't support. And let's face it, OPOA is the biggest union in the state as far as law enforcement is concerned. They've got some very, very good lobbyists that are good at what they do, and they have a lot of pull and a lot of influence with a lot of these senators. So there's just not enough support for the bill unless we can get OPOA on board. It's the only way this works.
Right.
And I don't like that any more than you do. All of you watching, all of you listening, we don't like that. But that's the way it is. We don't like the fact that we have to carry a firearm to keep ourselves safe because the world isn't a good place. But
right.
That's the way it is.
I think one of the challenges is how the bill amendment, what the bill amendment actually states. There's a few different amendments that have been put forth.
Mm-hmm. And
the amendments.
Let's just real quick clarify that as the debate goes on in general file, there may be multiple amendments that get approved. There may be no amendments that get approved. The bill could be passed in its original form. I just don't think it would.
Correct.
But yeah, any or all of those amendments may or may not be passed.
Correct. Okay, so constitutional carry is very simply defined as our constitutional guaranteed right as a law-abiding citizen, if you're not a prohibited person, to carry in a concealed fashion that which you can already carry in an open carry fashion in our state.
Yes.
That's the simplest way to look at constitutional carry. That in the same way that we don't have fees or required training for folks to exercise their right to vote, nor should we have fees or required training to exercise your right to carry a firearm, for lawful self-defense. Okay. The amendment that some people are talking about had to do with adding some tools to law enforcement's ability to handle a person committing a crime like rioting, violent crimes, stalking, kidnapping, all these other crimes that are obviously crimes, that if a person was constitutionally carrying a firearm while doing that crime, that then there would be the ability for that additional charge of basically doing it with a firearm. A lot of crimes of violence, obviously are with armed and unarmed people. In our current society, there is always an additional charge, a heavier charge, a longer charge, more time in jail, more fines if you commit a crime with a firearm. So like if I just assault you with my hands, that's very different than assaulting you with a firearm. Mm-hmm. Those always have, more stringent penalties. So the big amendment that a lot of people are talking about are these additional penalties for the commissions of crimes while carrying a firearm. Those are going to have a heavier weight applied to them than they currently do, except for the fact that it already is a crime, right? To do a crime with a firearm. So it's not really changing too much. It's keeping what's in place. So a lot of people are angry about firearm registration. I hate firearm registration. We all know that it's useless. And historically, it has been a thorn in NFOA's side because we have for years presented information about how that firearm registration requirement that exists in Omaha is basically a means for infringing on people's rights. That if you don't look the way I like you to look, you don't talk the way I want you to talk, you're connected to someone through family or friend affiliation that we don't agree with, we don't like, we can just deny your right to register your firearm, thus basically keeping you from having one. For folks who don't know, we do not have state preemption of firearm laws in Nebraska. We are one of the few states that don't, which allows Omaha, places like Blair, and of course places like Lincoln to pass ordinances on firearms. So that's an issue. And until we get state preemption, that's what we're going to continue to face. So state preemption is really NFOA's next big target. But our target this year is constitutional carry.
Right. And let's reiterate the fact that there already is a registration now in Omaha. And the way it sits right now, and I'm going to paraphrase, but I had a lawyer explain this to me in a way that I could wrap my brain around it. So hopefully this makes sense to all of you as well. Right now, there's a whole laundry list of reasons why the city of Omaha, the Omaha Police Department can deny registration. And as soon as you purchase a firearm in Omaha, the way I understand it, you have to go immediately to the police station, take the firearm to them, register it.
You don't even get the firearm. So if you are,
you don't take it to them anymore?
No.
Okay.
So if you don't have a concealed handgun permit, CHP, the way we have it now, if you have a CHP, you have state preemption. So you don't have to pay attention to any city ordinances. You only have to worry about state law,
right? Which
is why you don't have to register if you have a concealed handgun permit. So for instance, you go to a local range in Omaha, you don't have a CHP, you just had a firearm purchase certificate, or you do a private sale, according to the ordinance, you have to take the information about your firearm to law enforcement. So make, model, and serial number. And they're going to do whatever they do to process your application to register. And they don't have to comply with federal and state laws that say, these are the people who are prohibited. And if you're not prohibited, you're good to go. They have an inordinate list of different reasons that they can deny you. And so they do. And they denied so many people. And 90% of those denials get overturned, right, in a hearing, which tells you that the application of the protocol, if you will, isn't fairly applied probably, and causes a lot of problem. And to us, it's a civil rights violation. So one of the big things is the registration process is now neutered. And I love using that word. It's a very powerful word. You were saying we're going to be candid and human.
Yeah, it's a very apt description.
It's neutered. Now they cannot deny you your registration. If you have to register your firearm because you don't have a concealed handgun permit, all you need to do is now go in, say, hey, I'm registering my firearm, and you're done. They can't deny you. So it's a paperwork exercise for, the police, but We're not going to have people who should have access to their firearms having any issues with not being able to get it registered and thus not being able to have them. So for instance, if you bought a gun from the range I work at and you get denied your registration, we have to refund you your money. You don't get your gun.
Right. Even if you're not a prohibited person in the eyes
even though
of
you're
the
not
federal law.
prohibited, you're perfectly legal. You have a firearm purchase certificate. You're good to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what this and Senator Brewer has filed 2 different amendments, but this is the second one that he has filed on this bill. So what this will do is basically turn Omaha's registration from may issue into shall issue. Is that correct?
Correct.
And it will not only do that, but it will also make it to where the only way that you can be denied is if you are a prohibited person and unable to possess a firearm, because it would make our state statutes match the federal law as far as who is prohibited, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, yes, this is not what we want. We don't want registration at all. But if we're going to have it, because the statewide preemption, we have fought that battle before. We have not won the battle yet, but the war is far from over. But in the meantime, that's a fight for another day. Mm-hmm. So for right now, if we're going to have this registration, which is already there, then let's at least make it fair for everyone, right?
Correct.
So there's a silver lining to the cloud. It's still not a good thing, but it makes a bad thing a little less bitter pill to swallow. How about that?
Yeah.
And it's going to do a couple other things as well in this amendment. So what happens is this doesn't mean that it codifies a registration into state law. There's already a law that says a city of a certain size can have a registration. That's on the books now. This doesn't change that. It just says that Omaha or any other municipality who has such a registration has to play by the rules. They cannot deny you unless you're already denied to possess the firearm. Mm-hmm. In which case you're not going to register it anyway because the gun store is not going to sell it to you.
Correct.
So it's still, there's still good in it, even if I'm trying to make the best of a bad situation, then I'm trying to make the best of a bad situation. But keep in mind, everybody, that if this amendment doesn't pass, this bill doesn't pass. I don't know how to stress that enough to everybody. This bill will go nowhere. Then we end up with nothing, no constitutional carry. The Omaha registration stays may issue and nothing gets fixed at all. And then we have to try this again next session. So I don't know about you, but I'm not willing to put all this work that we've done into all this and come up with zero. That is not an acceptable outcome. Mm-hmm. And even if it doesn't give me everything I want, this doesn't give me anything bad. Right. And we don't lose anything that we already have. Mm-hmm. And so let's take that as a small victory. Let's take constitutional carry as a huge victory, because that's what it is. It's huge to be able to do that in this state.
Well, and here's the thing. There's some really good questions coming up, and I just want to answer a couple.
Sure, let's go to those.
There's one I want to answer right now. So what the Omaha Police Officers Union wanted, that's not all included in the amendment. There was quite a tug of war, and the list of what ended up being in the amendment is far shorter and smaller than what they originally began, the conversations with. So did we give them everything? No, hardly. Hardly. They got, in the end, the minimum. Okay. Now, the Omaha police officers as a union, they're not really the type of organization that does a lot of we're pro this bill. Okay. They're either against something, right, because it harms their ability to, obviously do law enforcement, or they're neutral. And neutral is the best that you're going to get out of a union when we're not talking about passing a bill that's directly addressing their roles as law enforcement. So neutral is pro, really. Mm-hmm. So that's an important distinction. The other part of it is while we got them secured, we didn't get Lincoln. Lincoln is completely anti-constitutional carry. They're, fighting against it tooth and nail. And sadly, now we have, 2 organizations that are national, like the NRA and the National Association for Gun Rights, taking different approaches, right? but putting forth some information that isn't exactly as clear as it needs to be on one side of the house, and some very, very false on the other. So NAGR's approach is typical of NAGR, the National Association for Gun Rights. You know, it is a national organization. They have done some great work, okay? And they have done some not so great work. No organization is perfect. But what we as NFOA is particularly concerned about is what we see time and time again is outside agencies that don't have a formal presence in Nebraska, do nothing for Nebraska until it serves their cause, coming in and messing things up on work that so many volunteers made happen in our state. And unfortunately, a lot of times it's to raise money, right? If they have a demon to battle, if there's a dragon to fight, then they can generate a ton of donations. You know, the sky's falling. You're going to lose your gun rights.
There's
right?
no money in a cure.
There's no money in a cure. So the other part of it is they have no understanding of how Nebraska politics works. If folks have been here long enough, when we got concealed carry passed, right? That has been amended since it passed, right? There used to be never would you be allowed to have any firearms on a like religious institutional grounds, right? Mm-hmm. Church security, mosque security, temple security. That was absolutely prohibited. And that was because the largest religious union was completely opposed to allowing citizens to carry firearms on campus. But that's got amended. And now we have church security teams across our state training, educating themselves, going to regular routine drills and what have you. And church security is huge across our state. But that was through the amendment process, as well as different bills being passed to amend the language. And so CHP has gotten better and better and better as far as our state statutes are concerned. And constitutional carry can get better and better and better. But we got to get it passed first in order to make it better. If we don't get it passed, there's nothing to fix.
Right. So really what this means is we may not be at the end where we want to be, the end goal, right? The game winning goal, if you will, but it's still a touchdown.
Right.
Right. Well, it's still points on the board in our favor. And we've got to work hard and even get there first.
And here's the thing, whether it's a misunderstanding or not, the information that's being put forth, you have to be very, very careful when you're trying to educate people about what state statutes and what language in a bill actually means.
Right.
Right. So if you quickly go looking through a bill and you don't comprehend how the information is related to other paragraphs, it's really easy to kind of get confused. So the first bit of information is this does not make registration of handguns a statewide event. Okay, we're not making handgun registration statewide. That was some misinformation or misunderstanding that came out. Mm-hmm. It doesn't codify handgun registration into state statutes. It simply allows for what already exists, if it in fact exists in your city, to continue with like I said, the neutering language that said you can't use it for denial, right? So how we present that information is like sort of factual and unemotional. But if you read some of the language and some of the, memes and Facebook posts and social media and mailers and stuff, you would think that Senator Brewer has decided to abandon the Second Amendment and his oath to office for, basically saying, well, if whatever exists on the books exists, my bill was all about constitutional carry, not dealing with those things. Well, those things can remain and we'll deal with those later, right? Mm-hmm. In a separate, more targeted bill. So that's a challenge.
So it's all about learning to choose your battles and also learning that there's no such thing as a miracle bill that gives us everything we want all in one shot. That never happens. And if there is such a bill that gives us everything that we want, it's doomed because it's got no chance of passing. Mm-hmm. And you can not like that as much as I don't like that, but it's still the truth.
Right.
And there are ways that the game has to be played inside those halls of the Capitol building in mm-hmm. order to get anything done. And a lot of folks don't realize exactly how that process works. I know I didn't until a couple years ago when I came on the board and really started learning how the legislative process works here in Nebraska.
Mhm.
So if you're not that familiar with it, that's okay. You're no different than most.
Right.
I'm here to tell you that it's not as easy as just saying, well, Nebraskans want this, why don't they pass it?
Well, and I think here's the thing. When we as NFOA did our polling and we asked our members to vote for their number one priority issue, constitutional carry was number one, hands down. And the definition of it was clear, black and white. We as NFOA, we as Nebraskans, we as gun owners, as far as those objectives, we have not lost a thing. We did not negotiate a weaker constitutional carry bill. The day that it gets signed is the day that you can go from open carry to concealed carry as soon as you walk out of your house without any restrictions. That's what the bill is about. The other part of this is momentum. Okay, so we got an omnibus bill passed last session. Prior to that, we haven't had a really solid 2A bill passed in our state in too long. If we get this bill passed, and we will, the momentum, the messaging, right? The fact that nobody can deny that Nebraskans as a whole are a pro 2A state, right? Is going to incentivize other senators. They're going to wake up, they're going to see the writing on the wall, and they're going to know, you know what, we can't fight this anymore. So those who are fighting will give up or, basically become silenced. And those on the fence are going to realize it's in their best interest to begin to actually start doing representative government, right?
Yes.
Which means, you know what? The majority of my county, the majority of my district are constantly churning and working towards this endeavor. I need to get on board. Let's start passing state preemption. Let's start passing other things like suppressor bills. The fact that suppressors have to go through that rigmarole of paperwork and denial just to be able to have something quieter and safer and more comfortable to use, whether you're doing it for competition or just shooting for enjoyment or hunting. The whole suppressor issue is ridiculous that we even have to face that. We're surrounded by more freedom with regards to suppressors around our state than what we have here. So that's the goal of this bill, is not just constitutional carry, but it's basically making it so well known that we are moving forward in all these different endeavors so we can get this passed.
Right. And here's another thing that's going to happen as kind of a trickle down effect. Those of you that are in a district with a senator who does not support this constitutional carry bill, I hope that gets you fired up. I hope that you will either find a better candidate to challenge the sitting senator when their seat comes up for reelection. Maybe it's you. Maybe you should consider running and do a better job representing your neighbors in your district. But we need to make sure that that Nebraskans get fired up. And there's not that I can think of, there's not a faster way to fire up Nebraskans than when they find out that their state senator does not support their right to keep and bear arms.
Right.
And so it really puts people on the spot because they have to have there's a voting record, right? I mean, it's public. It's everybody sees with a green or a red light bulb or a lack of a light bulb exactly how their district's senator votes on any given bill.
Right.
And so there's no hiding from it anymore. Now that it's out of committee, they all have to make a choice. Are they going to support it? Are they not? And it's your job as citizens to contact them and ask them to please support this, that you expect them to represent you as their constituent. But of course, we need everybody to contact every senator because all 49 of them have a vote now on constitutional carry. And so we need every one of you to contact 49 senators. 48 of them, ask them, please support this bill. The 49th one is Senator Brewer. Contact him as well. Don't worry about his support. He supports it. It's his bill. But please encourage him. Thank him. Let him know that you appreciate what he's doing for us, even if you're not in his district.
Right. And if you read through the language and you see what's being added and what's being edited and amended, no other city in the state of Nebraska could have a handgun registry except for Omaha. This actually does preempt most local gun ordinances, registry being an exception, and of course public discharge. We can't just obviously go out into our backyard and set up our own little shooting range if we happen to be within city limits, like where I am right now in Papillion, right? I can't go do any target practice in my backyard, which is why I'm moving to Cass County, and I will be able to do it in my backyard then.
And you'll be outside of any city limit.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I grew up outside of a city limit, and yeah, I miss the fact that I can't just go outside and plink for some target practice or do some small game hunting, anything like that here.
Yeah, yeah.
Nope,
so let's talk about we're talking about how this bill's going to pass, right?
Yes. Let's start this off with saying, and here's a comment somebody asked earlier on the Facebook side. I want to throw this up, and we're not going to talk about suppressors anymore, but Ryan's question, do y'all see Nebraska passing the same suppressor bill that was passed in Texas here in Nebraska passing? Now, the reason that I'm putting this comment up, it's not about the suppressors, but any bill that gets passed, this one included, constitutional carry, if you want it bad enough to help, then we can get anything done that we set our minds to. But if you're going to leave it up to Trish and me and the rest of our board and only have 7 voices here doing anything, no chance not a snowball's chance in that hot place.
Mm-hmm.
Same with any other bill that comes through. If Nebraskans will actually stand up, be counted, and make their voices heard, we can do anything we want. We're Nebraskans. But that means that you're going to have some skin in the game, and you're going to have to do some of the hard work, which means make some phone calls, send some emails, and have some conversations down at the coffee shop.
Yeah. So there's 2 comments, one from DJ Play Nice and one from Gun Websites. I kind of want to combine the 2.
Sure.
What are we going to do as NFOA? What are we going to do as Nebraskans if this bill was defeated? And what are ways that NFOA can basically respond to this not being, successful? So in this political world that we live in, we are finding out the truth about our elected officials right now. We saw on the vote, people who were absent, who did not vote, yes or no, right? To me, cowards, absolute cowards, individuals who are in office right now and decided not to be there that day because they don't like putting their names on anything that has substance. Interestingly enough, some of those individuals are people we know who are running for other elected offices, U.S. Congress, for instance, or, an attorney role in Lincoln, for instance, and elsewhere. It's ridiculous, but that's telling. That tells their constituents, you hired me and I'm not even willing to do my work for you. I'm not even going to do my job for you. So how does this go to our favor? Well, it goes to everyone's favor in the sense that where the rubber meets the road, you see who's actually going to work for you and who isn't, who should be voted out and who should be ran against, right? In this world of replacement politics. You know what? You're not doing a good job for us. We're going to replace you. That's how it works. Nobody gets into the unicameral to make any money. We know that. What's it, $12,000, $15,000, $16,000 a year? But that also limits, the kind of people who can run for office, the people who are, already financially taken care of, or have some really kick butt role in a nonprofit that pays them a really good stipend for never being at the nonprofit. There's all these wonderful ways to get involved in politics. But what we're seeing is individuals willing to put their money where their mouth is and run for office, knowing that they're going to face challenges financially and economically to run that role, but they're willing to do it to represent, real Nebraskans and real Nebraskan values. So that's exciting.
Yep. All right. And then, G-Webs over there had a couple different comments here, questions that kind of go together too. So a calling campaign, flyers or stickers or something near the registers. The first one, 656 gun shops in Nebraska. Any way to mobilize from that angle? If you're an FFL and you're in Nebraska, we would love to have your support. Please reach out to us. Please do such a thing.
Yeah.
There's just not enough resources and not enough boots on the ground right now for us to get out and visit every gun shop in Nebraska. I wish we could, but again, we're volunteers. We have day jobs. We can't just take a week and make a road trip through the state.
I wish I could. That'd be awesome.
G-Webs, if you can find a way to crowdsource, crowdfund that, I would love to have you be our rep for a day or a week or a month rolling through our state and visiting them all. But yeah, that would be really cool to do. But please, if you are an FFL in Nebraska, email us info@nebraskafirearms.org, and we will figure out something, even if it means we just get some flyers out to your shop so that you can put a flyer in every gun box. I've got a few dealers locally that do that, and it's awesome, just the fact that we've got that support. Same thing with ranges too. If you have a range, then please reach out to us.
Yeah.
Or if you're an instructor, please reach out to us.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Two things. One, this bill has taken up 120% of my life, as well as the other board volunteers and other volunteers in NFOA. Yeah. After we win this, then I can start doing some strategic stuff. So reaching out, calling all those gun stores, all those FFLs, all those ranges, introducing them to us, explaining what we do and how we do it, and asking them to be a strategic partner. Being a strategic partner isn't about sending us checks. It's just about helping us get our name out in front of your customers, your visitors, your clients, so that NFOA continues to grow. When I go testify, or John go testify at the state capitol, when we make our voices heard, it's not just us. It's not just Trish or John. I'm representing over 26,000 Nebraskans. That's how loud my voice gets, is because I have all of you behind me. I'm representing your voice, your message. I'm taking time off work to do that, and I'm proud to do it, and I'm happy to do that. So one of the best ways is to, collaborate. And so once we win, then that's where my effort is going to be going towards, is basing those community relationships and partnerships. We have brochures, we have posters, we have flyers that we can give to small to large shops that you can give to your customers as they come in. Little read aheads, like if people ask you about who NFOA is and what they can do to get involved, so that you can become a champion for us as well. And then basically we're going to return the favor, right? So if you're going to open up your doors to us, we'd like to open up our doors to you. And so we're going to create that partnership list, and those partners are going to be posted to our Facebook page and to our website and to our member emails, so that if I'm going shopping and I have a choice between shopping at one space or going to another range, and 2A is important to me, I can go put my money in an organization that's helping, the cause. So we'll be working on that too.
Yep, absolutely. But in the meantime, yes, our focus is right now on getting constitutional carry passed. Real quick, let's talk just a little bit about, and I see some comments coming in that I do want to get to here before we're all the way done. But let's talk a little bit about what LB773 actually doesn't do, because there's a little bit of confusion, I think, still. I see along the Facebook comments and questions that are coming in over on the Facebook, not tonight here, but just on the page in general, on the posts. And so a lot of people are curious what's going to happen if constitutional carry passes. Will there still be reciprocity with other states? And absolutely, the CHP is not going away. So if you want to still take a class, go and get your CHP through the state patrol, just like it has been since 2006, it will still remain in place. You can get the permit, and you can actually still have the reciprocity with the states that we have right now. However, if you don't want to take a class and go to the state patrol and get that license, you still will be able to carry concealed without a permit in Nebraska once this passes. That's the only thing that it comes down to for concealed carry, is you can still get a permit, you just don't have to, unless you want reciprocity with other states, in which case then absolutely the permit would be the way to go there. Because not every constitutional carry state allows non-residents the right to carry without a permit. Sometimes it's just for the residents of that state. So make sure you know your state laws.
So it's really important to understand, like tomorrow, right, March 10th, at the state capitol, we are asking anyone and everyone who has the time and ability to come walk the halls with us, stand in the balcony with us, make your voices heard. It's all inside. Thank goodness, Denise, we're not outside. We've had 2A rallies in February under sleet and snow. Okay. So we will be inside. There is a minimum requirement for debate of 8 hours. So tomorrow we're starting around 9 o'clock. They're not going to get to that 8 hours of debate. So the actual final votes won't happen until Friday morning. Okay. Mm-hmm. So tomorrow, nothing's going to happen except for the discussions and debate. But I'll tell you, so much can change in a moment. When a good conversation with an elected official can make the biggest difference. Your personal story, them seeing a constituent willing to drive all the way out there to meet with them or even talk to their staff is huge. Okay. Filling the balcony with smiling faces in support of Senator Brewer is a fantastic way to make a stand and make your voices heard. Mm-hmm. Nothing passes on one day of debate. There's 3 different levels of voting that have to happen over time, right? We have to get past the finish line 3 times before it actually gets passed and officially can go to the governor's desk for signature. So this isn't just ending, it's just beginning. We are just getting started, and we want to launch this with success.
Exactly right. So if you can make it to the Capitol tomorrow, please do so. And real quick, let's talk about this. Senator Brewer had mentioned this in one of his Facebook posts, and I've been saying it on my social media. And I was at the Norfolk Gun Show this weekend. I told everybody who would listen, when you show up, keep a couple things in mind. You absolutely have a right to open carry in the Capitol. You cannot concealed carry because there's a courtroom. The state Supreme Court is there, so we can't concealed carry inside the building. You have the right to open carry if that's what you choose to do. Nobody can tell you otherwise. However, keep in mind, this is a concealed carry bill. And open carry, the last time it happened, made a lot of people upset, and it gave the anti-gun crowd a whole lot of ammo to fire at us, calling us unsafe. There were senators that were so frightened they asked for police escorts to their vehicles that night because they were just afraid of, the terrible things that could happen. Right, quote unquote, air quotes, terrible things that could happen. And so let's think about this a little bit. Please disarm. I know it's not what you want to do, and it's not what I want to tell you to do, but in this case, coming in and open carrying is not going to help a concealed carry bill at all. At the best case scenario, it does nothing. Worst case scenario, it causes a reaction that we don't want and that we don't need. Mm-hmm. And so please keep that in mind.
Yeah. Definitely. Some folks have asked, who voted against LB773. So we have Senator Day. She can be convinced, though.
The pull motion, right?
The pull motion, right? They voted against the pull motion. Senator Day, but she can be convinced. Senator Lathrop, very tough nut to crack.
Pray for the man.
Yeah.
If you're a praying
Senator
person.
Hansen, Senator Hunt.
Well, one of the senators, Hansen.
One of the senators, Hansen.
I get them mixed up. It was Ben Hansen, correct, that voted against?
I think so, yeah. There's Matt Hansen. He's a good guy. Senator Hunt, that gal, she's quite an interesting senator. Senator Walls, Senator Vargas, surprisingly not. Senator Moorfeld, Senator McKinney, Senator Wishart, Senator Bostar, Senator Kavanaugh, and Kavanaugh. So there's 2 Kavanaughs, I believe. Yes. Who voted to not pull it. So Ben Hansen, Senator Ben Hansen is the good guy from Blair. Very important to distinguish that Hansen from the other Hansen.
Matt Hansen
is the Lincoln anti-gun senator.
Okay. And again, then I get them mixed up too.
Yeah. And actually, Matt Hansen is running for county clerk. So that's exciting. Here's something that was interesting. We mentioned how some folks did not comment at all. So we have Senator Blood, who's actually running for governor. Okay. Here's a woman who is running for governor and can't even vote on one of Nebraska's most important motions, historical motions happening on the floor. Can't even vote for that, right? Doesn't have the courage to vote for that. Not surprisingly, she's one of the senators when we first brought forth constitutional carry and the fact that the costs and fees are prohibited, which really affects people with, economic means that are challenged, right? Who are also in areas of town and in our state that probably need this support, like to be able to carry concealed without having to pay for a permit or class. She actually had the gall to say if they can't afford the training fees and the permit fees because they have to buy their groceries, then why are they even trying? Right. Just so privileged and just so, tone deaf is this lady. Senator DeBoer, DeBoer. She's running for free election, or actually that person's running for re-election. So we need to support whomever's running against them probably and learn more about people who might be running against that person. And Pansing Brooks, she's running for Congress. They were physically not present. And there's no question, right? One senator, though, that was not there is Senator Aguilar, but that senator is with us. So that person had a perfectly reasonable excuse. Co-sponsor of the bill and very supportive. So,
yeah, and we don't know the senators who weren't there to vote. We don't know the reasons why, but you have the right as Nebraskans to ask them and see if you can get a response from them. You absolutely can ask all of them. That is your right to do. So
I think Kurt Wissenberg just posted a comment with a link to the vote in Facebook. So thank you for posting that, Kurt. That was great.
And if I don't know if I can get that to, I can't. I can put it on the screen, but it's long. If you're watching the screen right now, it's nebraskalegislature.gov/bills/view_votes.php $KEY $773 $77732. Yeah, but it's there.
One thing DJ just commented, like, when do we get the voters guide? Unfortunately, while I can speak as Trish Harrold, the person, right, about who I'm for and who I'm against, and we should look at who's running against this person and what have you, I can't equivocally basically say NFOA is pro this person or anti this person. We actually don't endorse candidates. We educate you about what candidates are doing or what elected officials are doing. We educate you whether that's in alignment with the NFOA's objectives or not. You have to make up your own mind about who to vote for. Right. But through education and by basically, putting up the facts and the objective, criteria as far as their voting record, their sponsorship of bills and those kinds of things, you can really see what side of the house they line up on.
Oh, absolutely. Let's see. Real quick here. This is a question that I want to come back to when we maybe closer to the end. Matt over on Facebook, I see your question about moving from Idaho, and I do kind of want to ask Trish about that too. We'll come back to that.
Okay.
But real quick, Bill is showing up late. That's okay.
Bill, you're worth waiting for, Bill.
Speaking of Bill, that's a cool avatar picture. I like that.
I know. I love Bill's Bill. I know. It's great.
Where should we meet?
The information desk, the center of the rotunda, basically. That's kind of where I'm going to be hanging out at 9 a.m. So grassroots is organized, but slightly disorganized. So what that means is, we don't have an agenda for the day. We're not going to be marching around the halls in some kind of organized fashion.
Yeah.
But we are going to gather and meet in the information desk, which basically when you're coming in all the different entrances, you go straight into the center, and that's where we are. And then, bring your coffee, let's chat, let's talk. And then we'll be discussing what we're going to do, for the remainder of the day and how we're going to make this time of value. So there's definitely time that we're going to want to spend in the balcony, on the floor, above the floor of the unicameral while they're actually debating. But we also want to take advantage of being able to meet our senators and other senators nearby, and connecting with them and letting them know how important constitutional carry is to Nebraskans and how it aligns with our values and our traditions, and how Article 1, Section 1, which is amended language by the people for the people, the intent was constitutional carry when that was passed and put into our language, into our Constitution. And yet, obviously we don't have it. So really we are connecting to those individual grassroots movements in the 80s that made that change. And we're bringing it into the, 2022.
Nope, absolutely. A couple other good questions here. Bill wants to know, should we bring signs or flags? Polls sometimes can be a source of contention there.
The thing is, none of us are testifying. Okay.
Yep. We don't get a chance to talk in the chamber here.
And you can't bring any signs or flags into the balcony. So really, it's your presence. You are the sign. Your physical presence milling around the hallways. Everyone's going to know why we're there.
And if we get to either the balcony or even the entrance to the chamber, there's a place that everybody can sign in, correct? Or is it only if you make it into the gallery?
So there is no signing in.
There's not a sign that you can you're there to view
like it? Like I said, your beautiful physical presence, your smiling face is the signing in. In the past, when we've done this, the Moms Demand Action, all out of state, and all those other anti-2A organizations, they'll come with their shirts and whatever. They'll be really obviously who they are. They have a look. They have a sort of a glow about them. Okay. Our glow is the glow of freedom and the glow of purpose and the glow of commitment. That's how we're going to stand out. So you don't need to wear certain clothing. You don't need to wear or bring a sign or anything or a flag. But if you want to wear a Gadsden t-shirt, if you want to have I'm going to bring a bunch of my my stuff if folks might want to try some things on. I have some old NFOA stuff. But yeah, we're going to show up and we're going to be present and we're going to be a positive reflection of Nebraskans and the Second Amendment movement.
Absolutely. And yeah, please remember that, there may be some red t-shirt moms in the group. There may be some folks that show up that are not about what we're about. So remember, whether you're wearing a t-shirt, whether you're carrying a sign in the hallway, or just having an interaction with another human being somewhere in that hallway, remember that you are representing all of Nebraska's firearms as a whole. And not NFOA aside, you're representing me because I am a Nebraskan and I am a firearm owner. So please act accordingly. Represent us well. Show that we're not there to shout people down. We're not there to be disrespectful. That like I said, by the end of the day, I want there to be zero for the news to report, other than the fact that we had so many people there that it broke the record from a couple of years ago, which means we need to have 500 plus. And that's my goal. That's what I keep telling everybody. I want to get 500 plus bodies milling around the hallway. You don't have to hang out the whole day. If you can come early and then you got to leave, that's cool. If you can't get there till later, that's fine too. But come on and hang out. I think it was Denise was asking, where do you want to meet up?
Well, Denise, you have my phone number. Just text me. Say I'm here. I will find you.
As soon as you get in the door, you probably are going to be able to see and hear a crowd. I know that there's some building construction going on, depending on the door that you pick. But just make your way to the center where that information desk is, and you'll find us. I'll be milling around. Trish will be milling around. I think a couple other board members will be. So you see our faces. Come and say hi. Come and talk to us. We're cool. I promise. We'll talk to you too. I want to get to know as many of you, or at least meet as many of you as I can. So come and just say hi. We're not going to have any kind of a platform, any kind of a megaphone. We're not going to have a rally where we pump people up. It's just literally, we're all going to go and hang out, and we're all going to be noticed as supporters.
The coolest people in the room.
The coolest people in town.
Yeah.
Except
for
the
folks who can't come. So like M is showing his support. He can't come. He has to take care of his wife. Guys, your phone calls and your emails matter too. Okay. This is, if you can come, it's huge. It's so huge. Every person that comes is exponentially impactful in the sense that they see you as not just one person, but likely representing 5, 10, 15 people. So if you can't come, bring, get your cell phone, make some phone calls. We have how to contact your senator on our Facebook and our website. Make those personal calls, send those emails, let them hear from you. And the one other thing I wanted to mention, and I forgot, the work that went into this also connected to the education and training component, right? So right. NFOA is an organization that advocates for legislation and education. And some of the opponents of constitutional carry would like to say that it can't pass because we're going to have millions of untrained gun-toting people crowding our cities and towns. Well, number one, we know that doesn't happen. There are 21 states that have passed constitutional
We've
carry.
heard it 21 times before.
None of that has happened. Number two, people will still get their permit a lot of times because of reciprocity, because they want to get the training, et cetera, et cetera. So there's still people who are going to go through the traditional way and get the full-on concealed handgun permit. Then number three, we have actually formed a consortium of trainers, and we're just about close to 20 individual instructors and ranges who do education, who are going to be on our commitment list to provide free training occasionally throughout the year, like once a quarter across our state, for people who need to have a basic firearm safety class, or for people who want to know how to pick out the right holster and how to properly carry concealed, and for others who want to delve deeply into the laws of force and when is it warranted and appropriate to use a firearm in self-defense. What's the difference between using a firearm for self-defense in my home compared to if I'm out on the street? Those 20 individual training individuals and organizations have committed to NFOA. We're going to broadcast this list where everyone can know where to reach out to them. It's a grassroots initiative. None of these individuals or organizations are going to get paid. For instance, the range that I work at in Omaha is offering a new shooter seminar. And that's free, and it has been free. So training has been a huge push in our state from the beginning, and it will continue to be. And we're actually going to increase training opportunities through this. So we're really excited about that.
That's why I became a trainer. I recently got certified myself, and I recently got my certification back from the State Patrol now. So I am certified to teach the Nebraska CHP course, among others. And I can't wait to be part of this. As an instructor, I know I've talked to a few people who are very hesitant about constitutional carry because they're worried it will take money out of their pocket because there won't be as many people to take classes. If we look at our neighboring states alone, we've got 6 neighboring states, and 5 of them have constitutional carry. All of those states have seen an increase in concealed permits. Not only concealed carriers without the permit, but actually people that go and seek out the class and go ahead and get their permit for a number of different reasons. But a lot of it, I think, is attributed to once people start carrying without the permit within the state, then they decide, well, I'm going to go on a road trip, going to take a vacation. I want to be able to carry my firearm across state lines. Gosh, I better go get certified and get the actual permit because that's required in some of these states. And so I think that's a huge thing. But here's a great thing. Right now, the Nebraska CHP class is an 8-hour class, and you have to learn all of the laws, but you also learn the general components of a firearm, components of a cartridge, how to clean your firearm, and all that kind of stuff. Well, a lot of you already know that because you've been firearm owners for so long that that's just kind of a yawn fest. I'm just going to say it. But it's in the curriculum and it's required to be taught in the class.
Right.
So without that restriction of having to have the permit, if you want to carry, concealed without a permit, but you still want to know the laws. You want to know where you can and cannot carry in Nebraska, and you want to know the laws that entails, then an instructor can have that part of the class separate and not have to go into gun cleaning and all that kind of stuff, and just have the class for the people that want that, and break that up into different smaller classes. And I think it's going to be good for everybody. And again, I'm speaking as an instructor, along with being part of NFOA and just being a Nebraskan in general. It's good for all of us. Anytime freedom is strengthened, it's good for all of us.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
And just remember this too. When the committee hearing happened for this bill back in January, Dr. John Lott from Crime Research Prevention Center flew into Omaha, but flew into Nebraska to come and testify on behalf of this bill. And I didn't realize this. He was actually in Lincoln in 1997 when the permit concealed carry first was introduced. And it took from 1997 until 2006 to get passed. But he said the same arguments were being made then. There will be blood in the streets. There will be shootouts. There will be people that got cut off in traffic that just start blasting. And that never happened. And anybody that's trying to tell you that removing the requirement for a permit is going to make the streets more dangerous just simply hasn't done their research and is unaware of how the rest of the country is working, because it's never happened in any state that's passed this. Violent crime goes down, concealed carry permits actually go up, and it's crazy. It seems counterintuitive, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
So, all right. I think that there have been a few questions that I've missed. There was one up here that I saw, and I think Aaron actually had to leave, but where did that comment go? If you have constitutional carry, meaning you don't have the actual CHP, you live in the city of Omaha, yes, you would have to register your firearm. That still would remain. We covered that at the beginning of the chat here tonight. So if you're coming in late and you missed the first part, we encourage you to just go back and watch the replay and catch all that again, all that info. So we're not going to go through it again. But yeah, Trish went through at length and explained how the registry remains in place, but it's going to be better than it has been in the past. So, and we're not putting a registry in; it's already there. We're not losing anything that we don't already have, but we're gaining a whole lot if we get this passed. So, all right, and then there were some other. Oh, yep. Matt says the same arguments were made in Idaho against constitutional carry. And yeah, they weren't right then. They weren't right now. There's not. I haven't heard a report of the gunfight over in downtown Boise. So, yeah, just it's not happening. Pocatello is just as safe as it ever was. Oh, Aaron's still there. All right. So yeah, the FOA Mice King. I'm not sure how that's pronounced, but it says what is the exact amendment number that we should be asking our senators to support. Well, the bill itself is LB773, and then the amendments. I mean, I don't think that we necessarily have to ask the senators to support the given amendments. The second amendment filed by Senator Brewer just isn't. It's necessary. That's the keystone to this whole operation. Without that amendment, too many senators pull out, they don't back this, and it goes nowhere, and we don't have constitutional carry. And again, I don't know how to stress that enough. We don't like it, but we acknowledge the fact that it's the way it is. So let's take what we can get now. Then we'll come back later and get some more. That is a tried and true tactic that has been used to strip our rights over the years. Let's turn the tables. Let's grab what we can grab now, and then we'll come back and we'll get some more later.
I like it. That sounds great.
Jeff wants to know, has Omaha's registry been challenged as unconstitutional?
No, it has not. We've done, I think, a total of 3 lawsuits against Omaha. We won all 3. Those were related to concealed handgun permits. When that bill became law, they basically attempted to ignore it. And then they also tried to deny certain classes of people that were completely protected by federal and state law to be able to have a concealed handgun permit. They tried to deny them that. And here's the thing. We as an organization, we are super grassroots, and our membership is free. So unlike some other organizations that make $12 million a year in membership dues and then also ask for donations, when it comes to doing a lawsuit, that is a war chest initiative. We will pursue the war chest initiative, but we also do so in partnership with the Second Amendment Foundation, which is a larger national organization, and they've come in and helped us with those lawsuits in the past. The last lawsuit we did that we supported was against Lincoln, when one of the 38 ordinances caught up a young man who had a concealed weapons charge of a small, tiny little pocket knife. It was 1/8 of an inch too long to be in his pocket. He did not know that paying that little $75 fee made him a prohibited person in Lincoln, even though he's perfectly capable to get a permit to purchase, as well as a CHP. And he ended up getting an inheritance and purchasing some firearms as part of his, just joy of 2A. And because they have a backdoor registration scheme in Lincoln, those firearm purchases were discovered, and the city arrested him and confiscated over $50,000 in firearms from him. So we were able to at least secure the ability for him to recoup the costs, as much of the costs of his loss. But yes, the lack of constitutionality with gun registries is an issue. Once we get constitutional carry passed, we're moving towards state preemption as well as that.
All right. So, and there wasn't a lawsuit, but yeah, NFOA, among others, were able to pressure the Douglas County Sheriff's Department, or was it Omaha Police Department, to start issuing the purchase permits again because they claimed that they couldn't during COVID.
Yeah, that was fun. That was basically myself and a couple other board members making some very quick calls to people with power, and making it known that the last thing they wanted to do was face the lawsuit that was going to arise. So it wasn't just Omaha. There were actually 3 counties out west that, unbeknownst to us, had stopped issuing concealed handgun permits and permits to purchase for over a month or two with COVID. And a couple phone calls from us. And within, I think it was like 15 minutes of being alerted, there was this new post on the sheriff's website about, we're going to institute a process by which you can get that paperwork taken care of.
Yes.
And so sometimes, guys, it's these relationships that we build that create some of this momentum that we leverage. And that's because people find us to be trustworthy. Mm-hmm. When we give our word, it's sacred. I don't make promises I can't deliver. So I rarely make promises unless I truly know that I have all my ducks in a row and can make it happen. Mm-hmm. It's a tough road. We need all of you to back us up. It's not just us. You are our voice. You are our strength.
That bears mentioning too. In this process, it hasn't just been Senator Brewer who has sat down with OPOA, the Omaha Police Officers Association. Several of our board members and volunteers have also sat down and had numerous talks with representation from OPOA, and built some really good relationships. And even though they didn't get everything that they want, and even though we didn't get them to, of course, give everything that we want, the relationships, I think, are now very, very solid. The foundations are built to move forward and just build on these relationships moving forward, because we found out the things that we agree on, right? We found that common ground with them and said, okay, well, here's our starting point. And then, we can't do everything you want. You're not going to do everything that we want. And of course, that's part of the process, right? But the relationships are built now that weren't there before, or weren't as strong as they are now before. And that's also a good thing that has come from this. Just the fact that we now have somebody that Trish can call up at a moment's notice from that union and say, hey, I need to talk to you about this. And that relationship has been built, and that's a great thing to have happen. So just kudos to you and everybody else that has been able to take the time to sit down, Trish, with OPOA and others to get this done. I think it's Foamy's King. If it's not Foamy's King, then I apologize for saying the name wrong. But is there a poison pill amendment we need to be aware of? We talked about this earlier, but real quick again, because we don't want another Hughes amendment. So no, There is not a poison pill. In fact, the amendment in question, honestly, I keep saying this, it's the lifeblood. It's the thing that all of this hinges on. Without that amendment, there's not enough senators to support this bill to get it passed. And even at the way it is right now, we still need a few senators to because there were 30 votes to pull it out. If it gets filibustered, we need 33 votes to break a filibuster. And so we still need some more support from some of these other senators. The poison pill that you may have read about on one of those very vitriolic Facebook posts or emails says that Tom Brewer is making it to where you can you'll have to have a statewide gun registry, and that's not at all true. Omaha has a registration now. The amendment from Senator Brewer actually makes it to where they cannot use that registration to deny people to possess firearms who are not denied because of any of the other things, say on a form 4473. So the bill actually would make it to where if you're able to lawfully purchase and possess the firearm, then they have to register it. They cannot tell you you can't register it, and then which would it's the way it is now. Right now, there are things that aren't on that 4473 that the city of Omaha can use to say we're not going to register it, and if they don't register it, you can't have it. And so, yeah, it's definitely not a poison pill. It's not everything we want. It doesn't remove the registry, but it makes it to where they cannot weaponize it, and that is a huge thing right there. So. And if did I do okay, Trish? Do I need to add anything to that, or do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that's exactly it. It is hard to be a 2A advocate. It's hard to be a 2A proponent. We have had our rights chipped away over time. And sometimes I even think it's not chipped. They've taken what are those big old sledgehammers, right? Mm-hmm. We have to chip away back and sledgehammer back, right? So it's slipped over time. We're going to gain over time. And so being patient is incredibly tough. And I'll be honest, I face a lot of crap from people who are purists and who haven't put any time or effort into this fight, who think miracles can be performed overnight. Well, you know what? Run for the NFOA board, because I would love to follow a miracle worker. And I don't mean that sarcastically. I mean that with honest intent. I have ideas. You have ideas. You all listening to us have ideas. We're not the end all be all, but we are Nebraskans fighting for Nebraskans. And we welcome your thoughts and ideas, and we welcome you to partner with us. And we're not territorial, except for the fact that we do expect for people to represent our state and represent our interests, and not to try to use what's going on in our state for political or monetary gain. Those things are disdainful to us. They're disdainful to our founder. John, I know you had a chat with him, our founder, Tim, on some of the conversations some of these big 2A organizations tried to have with him when they founded NFOA, and try to convince him that the best thing to do would be to charge for membership and then use these strategies to make the rain as, the sky is falling. And, you could become a rich man, Tim. What? How disgusting is that? Right? So we're going to stay the course. We're going to stay in alignment with our values, our mission and our vision, and the way we do business. And we're going to win in the end. And that's what matters.
And I don't know if I can get away with saying this or not, but I'm going to have at it anyway. We're not like Wayne LaPierre. We don't have a Wayne LaPierre type person in our organization. Any donations that you send us go to zero of our pockets. They go to our mission, and they stay within NFOA. Nobody gets paid. Some people get reimbursed when we have volunteers that have to drive a long way, or they buy things with their own money and we reimburse it. That's not the same as being paid. And so your money goes into our mission, not into our pockets. The $0 that you pay for membership, that's what Trish and I get paid out of, and we get to split it.
And we're rich that way.
Right,
We're rich
exactly.
that
Well,
way.
and that's the thing. You know what? It cheapens it when you start to pay people to work in an organization, because they may be doing it for a paycheck. They may not be believers in what they do. So we are believers. And trust me, when you're making those comments out there on the YouTube videos, on the Facebook posts, we may not get to reply to them all, but we see them. Sometimes I don't know how to reply. But remember that we are still people. We're humans. We all have at least one job, if not more. A couple of our board members are retired, bless their hearts. Trish has 4. I've got 3 that pay, and then, 2 that pay, 1 that I'm working on getting going that pays, and then all the stuff that I do to volunteer and my own social media too, that take up my time. If you have all the time to invest to help get some of this stuff done, let us know, because we need you. We don't have as many hours in the day as what we need to. I know that there are nights that Trish stays up way past her bedtime to get some of these emails made and get some of these posts made and scheduled to go out at the right time, because she cares. And I'm not saying that that any of us are any better than the rest of you. I'm saying we're just like the rest of you. We all care. We all have jobs. We would love to have more support from our volunteers or more volunteers from our membership. So please reach out to us and just ask us what you can do to help, because it might not be, it might not be anything huge, right? But if we have enough people helping us out, then many hands make light work, as they say. Yes, G, I'm telling you that. We're not throwing that even up on the screen.
I bought him his hat.
No, this one I paid for.
Okay.
I used my Google money, I think, for that. So that's on something completely different. There was some other questions I did want to get to. There's a good one from Jeff over on the YouTube side. How will the current shall issue case at the Supreme Court affect Nebraska, Omaha, and Lincoln? We are now shall issue as it is. It won't affect us if they make it to where no state can be may issue. It'll be huge for those states, but it won't change anything here, because if you qualify, if you meet the criteria, you do get a permit in Nebraska already. So it won't change that. It'll leave it alone. That's what I was gonna get to is everybody that I talk to, everybody that comments on Facebook, they all kind of have a common theme. Somebody needs to get this done. Well, do you know what? Somebody is not Trish and me, because Trish and me are literally 2 people here on a computer screen or on a phone screen. We're no more powerful than any 2 of you put together. But if all of you join together and all of you will work to get this done, I keep saying it, there's no limit to what we can get accomplished, but we can't do it without you. So if you want this done, prove it. Put some skin in the game. Put a little effort in. Not much. You can send emails from the couch. If you can't get to the Capitol, then cool. There's other stuff you can do to help us out. Some of the things that we want to do cost money. We're not going to bombard you with emails, but remember that we don't get membership dues. And so it is strictly donations that we run off of to print these flyers, to do the things that we need to do to get some collateral out to some of these dealers in some of these ranges. So if you want that to happen, we do need some help doing it. There's no way around it. I don't like asking for your money, but again, it helps knowing that it's not for me. So if you can help us out, let us know. We're working on getting the link to donate on the website. Last I knew was having some issues, but is it still having issues, or are we getting some headway on that?
I don't know. Good question.
I need somebody to go click donate now and see if it works. And if you want to mail in donations, then what is the correct? Because I know on the last one of these that I did by myself, I gave the wrong address. I'll put it on the comments too. What is the right address?
Right now, we're taking mailers to a private house. So if you want to donate to NFOA, what we're asking you to do is send us an email at info@nebraskafirearms.org. We have to renew our post office box. We got so busy that we forgot to renew it. So we're going to get a new address.
When we get a new post office box, it won't be the same number.
Right. It'll be something different.
Okay. So if you want to mail one, we'll have a plan for that, but we're not going to post one of our volunteers' private address out for everybody. So just email again, info@nebraskafirearms.org, and I'll put that up on the screen as the scrolling ticker here, so that you can see that too. But yeah, we can't do this without some financial help. But at the same time, just understand that even if we don't get your donations, if we can get your time and your effort, that is worth a ton. So you can do, whatever works for you. If you've got more time than money, then we'll take your time. Absolutely. You don't have to necessarily have a particular set of skills to be valuable to NFOA. Sometimes, again, like tomorrow, just showing up is all you got to do. Just show up and just be respectful, mind your manners, and please disarm before you come in, because you're not going to help us by open carrying tomorrow. So, okay, I think we have kind of covered just about everything that everybody has been saying. Alrighty, so I think we've covered most of them. We'll do that. I've got a couple bots out there in the chat that we need to take care of. So, all right. If there's anybody that has any other questions or comments that we need to get to, if we skipped you or we missed you, because the comments were coming pretty fast and furious there for a little bit, go ahead and throw it back in there. But we will. Kurt says the website donation process works. You'd only know that if you did it. Thanks, Kurt, for your contribution. Kurt. We appreciate it. So yeah, we can. That's one of the things. DJ's got a great comment here. Lengthy opportunities to contribute. There are things that we don't even know we need that some of you think that we should have. So again, email in those suggestions. info@nebraskafirearms.org, and let's just fill up that email inbox with all kinds of cool suggestions and requests for addresses to send stuff off. Absolutely. Any plans on trying to remove some of the gun-free zones in Nebraska? That's never off the table. It's not on the table right now, but that's never off the table. One other thing that I forgot to mention, we've had a fellow that's been very active in Northeast Nebraska pushing the ballot initiatives. And if for whatever reason we fail in the legislature, the ballot initiative is a great safety net. And I'm not saying that we're not behind the ballot initiative. What I am saying is NFOA, our board, our volunteers, and our helpers, we've got too much wrapped up into this bill in the legislature for it to fail. And I will not plan to fail. And I will not look at a backup plan unless this one does fail. And I'm going to do everything in my power. And I hope you'll do everything in your power to make sure that it doesn't fail and we don't have to go to the ballot initiative. Because even if we get it on the ballot, there's no guarantee it passes. So let's do it this way, and let's do it the right way. And then it becomes law signed by the governor. So, all right. Here's a great question. Are we looking at getting rid of the permit requirement to purchase a handgun?
Yes,
that's a very loaded question.
It is. Yes, we have discussed it. It has not been as high a priority as some of the others. But one of the things that we found out, and so we would want to likely keep it as an option, was during COVID 2020, right? The apex of COVID, the apex of riots in the streets, the apex of the election season, defund the police movement, right? People were waiting for their long gun purchases hours and hours and hours and hours when they didn't have a firearm purchase certificate and a background check had to get done. Mm-hmm. So those who had a firearms purchase certificate came in, bought their gun, and left. So having it, which gives you 3 years, right, of having proof that you've had a background check, advantageous during that time. But that's the thing. People like you, Matt, who are coming up with these ideas or suggestions, that's how we make our priorities. When NFOA puts out the call to action to its members, what are we going to work on next? You set the priority, not the board. So we
Yeah,
welcome you
several
to
of
join
you.
NFOA and make your voice heard and make that suggestion during the next legislative tally.
Yeah, several of you have asked what our next priority will be. Well, you guys are going to tell us, because we are here to represent you. It's not just 7 people on the board doing what we want. Okay, you elected us to represent you as NFOA members, and so we will do that. We will listen to you. We will ask you for your opinions, your feedback. Also, I know that I've had several people say that they've gone to the website and it says you have to be a Nebraskan to be a member. You can still sign up no matter where you live. What you cannot do is vote for us for board. That's it. There is a special part of the online forum that you can't access unless you've been vetted as a Nebraska resident. But if you're a member outside Nebraska, you can still be a member. You just don't get the voting privileges. That's all. You don't get that special part of the chat room.
Right. So Guns and Barbecue misunderstood what I was saying. I want to keep it as an option. I don't believe it should be required to have a purchase permit. Background checks are background checks. We do NICS checks all the time. You shouldn't have to go through another bureaucratic process to get a little tiny piece of paper when you can just walk into the gun store and get your NICS background check done and be just as legal. So my point was that if you have one and it's an option and NICS background checks are taking 6 hours, or they no longer become instant because the federal background check is controlled by the federal government, and sometimes it's not instant. We don't want people having to wait, depending on their situation. So my point was it can't be mandated, but it could be an option.
Absolutely. And keep in mind, too, a lot of the smaller dealers, especially, like I said, I was at a gun show all weekend. A lot of the dealers there just flat out have a sign posted that says, if you don't have your purchase permit or your carry permit, we're not going to deal with you because we're not taking the time. Sometimes it's a fact there's not a phone signal in a building. They cannot do a background check on the spot. And so that little piece of paper says the background check's been done, and you can go ahead and purchase your firearm at the gun show. So sometimes, again, they're advantageous to have. I agree, they shouldn't be required, but they should still be an option. And of course, if you have your CHP, then you've got 5 years where the background check has been done for you. So yeah, that's very great. Aaron wants to know about Stand Your Ground. Again, another great thing that we need to have passed in our state. But again, that's something that we can't make happen. You've got to find a senator. We've got to find a senator willing to submit the bill. And then we've got to rally the troops and get the bill passed, just like we're doing with this one.
We were really, really hopeful that LB773, which was Senator Slama's Castle Doctrine bill, was going to have success. We had tremendous support for that as well. That really, really is an important bill because we should not be at the mercy of violent criminal actors in our own home. And we should have the law on our side as far as viewing us as innocent victims of, home invasions. And when you're defending yourself in your own home, to put you into the crosshairs as if you're doing something criminal by defending yourself is ridiculous. The Stand Your Ground, that's a huge one because we have this ridiculous duty to retreat outside of our home and place of work, which honestly just puts us at greater risk of getting injured than the ability to, if you're lawfully able to be in a space, why do I have to retreat from that lawfully, contained space? So that's definitely another bill that's going to have a lot of attention going forward. So when NFOA does our polling again for our members to establish what our priorities are, we welcome you to put that vote forward so that we can make that a priority if that's what you guys want.
Yep. And if you haven't been getting the emails, there's been a few email blasts that have gone out. One went out earlier this morning, to let everybody know about this online meeting tonight. If you didn't get that and you are a member, then drop an email again to info@nebraskafirearms.org. Just give us your name, address, and email address. And we'll make sure that you are on the distribution list, because we're finding out some of our members that have been members for a long, long time, we don't have their email address added into the distro list. And so we need to get that done. So if you're not getting regular emails from us, or I shouldn't say regular, but if you're not getting any emails from us, you haven't all year, then let us know so that we can make sure that you're getting them. And again, that's part of when you go to sign up, that once you're a member, then you're getting those emails, or you should be. So, all right. I think it's after 9 o'clock. I think we're going to go ahead and probably call it. We've gone for about an hour and a half here. We've got a few other questions. Ray, I see your question about the police departments. Again, drop that email us. And again, when we poll our members to ask what the priorities need to be, add it there too. And, but if you send that email off, Ray, then we're not going to lose that. And we won't forget that you asked. Rex, I see you out there with the ballot initiatives. Again, we just addressed that. We're not planning to fail. We're not planning to need that ballot initiative. Thank you for your work in providing a safety net so that if this doesn't go through, that we still have that as an option to fall back on. But I've got too much wrapped up into this, too much time, too much effort, too much ignoring my wife when she's trying to talk to me and I'm trying to send an email or a text message or build a Facebook post for this to fail. So we have to get this passed. You have to help us get this passed in the legislature. You, Nebraska, you're the ones that are going to get this done. Not Trish, not me, not NFOA, Nebraskans. I think that's going to be it. Hopefully you can make it to the Capitol. Please be safe on the roads. They could be slick. They could be snowy. So please be safe, travel safely. But I hope to see any and all of you there in the hallways. Come up to us and say hi and meet us. We want to meet you. I don't think we can end it on any better note than that. Do you, Trish?
No, I think that's great.
All right.
Thank
Good
you,
night, everybody.
everyone, for joining us tonight.
I've got to get some stuff together and hit the hay so I can get up early and get on the road. You know what? Here's what we're going to do. I have got a brand new, never worn, it's never been sweaty NFOA hat. And I'm going to bring this with me tomorrow. And I'm hopefully people will stay around for a long, long time. But I want to know who traveled the farthest within Nebraska to come and hang out with us. Whoever traveled the farthest gets this. Okay.
Nice. Awesome.
So come on up and find me and see if you are going to be the winner, but I won't know until the end of the day. So I'm going to have to probably get some info from you. I'll figure out a way to log all these in, but I want to know who came the farthest to hang out with us. I'm coming from Norfolk and I've already got the hat. So if you're coming farther out than Norfolk, then let me know. So, all right. That's it. Good night, everybody. Thank you, all of you. We love you. God bless you.
Thank you.